He neither confers with fellow justices. He has both the final and the only say.
Viewers and subscribers, welcome once again to Think Tank TV. Now, just a few days after the Supreme Court judgment that favored and upheld the election of Bola Tinubus, the Supreme Court justices has come out to expose the shenanigans in the judiciary. I told you in our last video where we posted about the justices that made the panel of judges that would handle the Peter Obi and Atiku case against Bola Tinubus, that Justice Datijo actually went ahead to pull himself out of the committee, stating that he was not going to be a part of the committee because he was going to be retiring. Now, just a few hours ago, during a valedictorian section, he was opportune to give a keynote speak, and he has exposed some insight about the shenanigans that have been happening in judiciary. You want to do well to listen to these details for yourself, because the words he said went ahead to implicate the Chief Justice of Nigeria. Recall that the Chief Justice of Nigeria is the chairman of the National Judicial Commission, the Federal Judicial Service Commission, the National Judicial Institute, and the Legal Practitioners Privileges Committee. Now, these committees and these commissions are saddled with key responsibilities, such as anomalies like nominating the senior advocate of Nigeria and making critical decisions about the judiciary. Now, Justice Datijo in his valedictorian section has actually said some words that has indicted the Chief Justice of Nigeria, saying that the Chief Justice of Nigeria has been appropriated for. Not just that, he has headed this committee on a solo basis, without taking the input of other justices that make up the commissions that have a lot to do with making decisions about the judiciary. You want to listen to these keywords because they are actually very informative. Please do want to listen to these details, as these words are very key to understanding what is happening in the judicial system. Also, do want to hit the subscribe button if you're new to our session, but don't go anywhere because I'll be coming back to wrap up the video. My name again is Moses, and this is Think Tank TV.
It was my view that valedictory sessions only provide honorees the platforms to tell their stories and, informed by experience in the course of service, make suggestions as to how to improve the institutions they had served. I was, however, unable to appreciate the extent to which previous suggestions had been exploited to effect the desired reforms. A society, they significantly reason, rots too easily when institutional defects are ignored. I am also here to say goodbye, particularly to the attendees of today's event, the public, and indeed the country at large, for giving me the privilege and honor of serving the judiciary for 47 years. The valedictory, again, is a thanksgiving exercise for the good health one enjoyed in the course of service. Glory be to the Almighty Allah, the Lord of the universe. Because I would eventually write a book to tell my story, including the experience gathered while serving in the judiciary, it is incumbent for me to be very brief in my address this morning. Appreciable efforts have been made by earlier speakers in telling you who I am. The Chief Justice of Nigeria is the chairman of the National Judicial Council, NJC, which oversees both the appointment and discipline of judges. He is equally chair of the Federal Judicial Service Commission, the National Judicial Institute, NJI, the Legal Practitioners Privileges Committee, LPPC, that appoints senior advocates of Nigeria. In my considered opinion, the oversight functions of these bodies should not rest on one individual. A person with absolute powers, it is said, corrupts easily and absolutely. As chair of NJC, FJSC, NJI, and LPPC, appointments as council, board, and committee members are at his pleasure. He neither confers with fellow justices nor seeks their counsel or input on any matter related to these bodies. He has both the final and the only say. Such enormous powers are effortlessly abused. I repeat, such enormous powers are effortlessly abused. This needs to change. Continued denial of the existence of this threatening anomaly weakens effective judicial oversight in the country. Now, by the provision of paragraph 20 of part 1 of the third schedule to the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, the NJC shall comprise the following members: the Chief Justice of Nigeria, who shall be the chairman; the next most senior Justice of the Supreme Court, who shall be the deputy chairman, Regrettably, the next most senior Justice of the Supreme Court, like deputy governors of states, shorn of any official function except at the pleasure of the governor, is neither consulted on anything nor does he have any official function. His job as number 2 is purely as the CJ pleases. It is incumbent that the system provides for more inclusion and consultation among the stakeholders. Now I move to the issue of funding and independence of the judiciary. Allusions have been made in innumerable times about poor funding and how the judiciary has been emasculated by inadequate funding. My Lord, the late Honorable Justice Mustafa Akambi, former president of the Court of Appeal, in a publication titled The Men Obstacles of Justice According to Law, said, and I quote, "A good judgment flows from a mind that is not bogged by the thought of, where do I get my next meal? Or where do I get the money to pay my son's school fees? Poor conditions of service disturb the mind. It is an obstacle to clear and positive thinking." Beyond the issue of the salaries of justices remaining static with no graduation for almost 15 years now, it is instructive to inquire what the judiciary also does with its allocations. Who is responsible for the expenditure? An unrelenting searchlight needs to be beamed to unravel how the sums are expended. In 2015, when President Muhammad Buhari became the president, the budgetary allocation to the judiciary was 70 billion naira. In 2018, appropriation bills submitted to the National Assembly, the president allocated 100 billion to the judiciary. The legislature increased it to 110 billion, 10 billion above the 100 billion appropriated for the 2017 fiscal year. At the end of President Buhari's tenure in 2023, judiciary's allocation had increased to 130 billion. 130 billion. This is an increase from 70 billion to 130 billion in 8 years. The present government has allocated an additional sum of 35 billion naira to the judiciary for the current financial year, making the amount of money accessible by the judiciary to 165 billion naira. If one looks at what has been given to the states, each state was given 5 billion to solve its problems brought about by the conditions we are going through because of the fuel thing. If you look at what is given to the judiciary, and yet who are still saying that the judiciary is being emasculated. I think there is something wrong somewhere. More than 80% of the amount appropriated by the Ninth Assembly has so far been released to the judiciary. It is envisaged that the additional 35 billion naira will equally be released by the present government. I'm sure it will be released by the present government because I know the antecedents of Mr. President. Because when he was governor in Lagos State, I was privileged to be in the Lagos State Division of the Court of Appeal. And I knew his attitude towards the judiciary. I don't think he would be flippant to say that he's doing this and to recline from doing that. I'm very, very optimistic that that amount of money will be released to the judiciary as well. Now, notwithstanding the phenomenal increases in the sums appropriated and released to the judiciary, justices and officers' welfare and the quality of service of the judiciary that the judiciary rendered have continued to decline. There is an a terrible decline in the services and the welfare of justices and officers of the institution. I should know, and I know, and I'm saying it as I know it. It may interest one to know that, and this is another ridiculous thing, that the Chief Registrar of the Supreme Court earns more than the justices of the court. It's not something of today. This anomaly has been in existence all these years. I was a Chief Registrar in 1986. I knew what salary I do vis-a-vis what the judges of the High Court that I serve were taking. Supreme Court is the apex court. And yet, the Chief Registrar of this court earns much more than I do, earns much more than we all do. And nobody talked. Nobody talked. While she earns 1.2 million a month, justices take home 751,000 naira in a month. The salary of a justice, curiously, drops rather than increases when he gets the added responsibility of being a Chief Justice. That the unjust and embarrassing salary difference between the justices and the Chief Registrar still abides remains intriguing, to say the least. It is highly intriguing that this anomaly, we all know it, and nobody has taken it a duty to do something about it. Valedictory session after valedictory session, lapses and challenges that should be nipped are stated to no avail. Why the silence and seeming contentment? The process of appointment of judges and the quality of judgments of courts. A couple of years ago, appointment to the bench was strictly on merit, strictly on merit. Sound knowledge of the law, integrity, honor, and hard work distinguished those who were elevated. Lobbying was unheard of. Lobbying to accost justices into their chambers by people who seek to be elevated, that the judges should put in words for them, were unheard of. You will just be sitting, and if those who are given the responsibility of making the elevation find you worthy, you just get a letter to that effect. You wouldn't have gone to anybody to ask for any favors or recognition. But that is not the case today, unfortunately. I never lobbied, not at any stage of my career, to secure any appointment or elevation. And I challenge anybody to contradict this statement of mine. As much as possible, the most qualified men and women were appointed. That can no longer be said about appointments to the bench these days. The judiciary must be uniquely above board. Appointments should not be polluted by political, selfish, and sectional interests. The place of merit, it must be urged, cannot be overemphasized. Now I will move to public perceptions. What perceptions the public has about the judiciary. Public perceptions of the judiciary have over the years become witheringly scornful and monstrously critical. It has been in the public space that court officials and judges are easily bribed by litigants to obviate delays and or obtain favorable judgments. His Lordship Adolfo Okoji at the point of exiting had enthused inter alia as follows. Please, I expressed everywhere by the generality of the public. He is one of us. The person making this observation was one of us. He says, please, I express every day by the generality of the public, begging the judiciary to be just, to be truthful, and to save the country from collapse. My question is, whether the judiciary needs to be begged or cajoled. What is it that qualifies any person to bear that exalted name, Honorable Justice? Is it not for him to administer justice without fear or favor? Unfortunately, it has been severely vilified, with the apex court so denigrated and called by a social commentator as a water gaggle of useless, purchasable judicial bandits. How did the judiciary get to this level? That is the profound question His Lordship was asking as he was exiting. Why is the whole country on edge for fear of what the public regards as unpredictable judicial pronouncements? Like I said, he was one of us. There must be a rethink and a hard reset. If the people we have sworn to defend have lost confidence, there is a problem that must be addressed. Recently, fresh allegations have been made that children and other relatives of serving and retired judges and justices are being appointed into judicial offices at the expense of more qualified candidates lacking in such privilege and backing. It is asserted that the process of appointment to judicial positions are deliberately conducted to give undue advantage to the children, spouses, and mistresses of serving and retired judges and managers of judicial offices. At the Court of Appeal, it is also asserted that presiding justices are now being appointed out of term. When we were there, people to become presiding justices knew themselves and when they would become such officers. But now the perception is that Now, justices have been appointed out of time.
You've seen it for yourself. Such enormous powers are effortlessly abused. No wonder a wise man once said, absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's obvious for everyone to see that the Chief Justice of Nigeria does not seek the input of other members relating to this body. And how can you run such organization on the basis of man no man without looking at credibility? No wonder we have all this decadence in the judicial system. Please do what to hit the comment section. Let's get to know what you think about the current happenings in the judicial system, and we shall continually be here to serve you. Thank you so much to all our viewers and returning subscribers. We do not take it lightly. My name is Moses, and this is Think Tank TV. See you on our next video. Bye for now.